looks like I can do certain things with YouTube on my computer, but I cannot access them on my mobile phone. So sorry for the delay, but I am here. This is day 2 for our challenge, this new way of creating confidence through service, through being heart-centered. And for those of you who opted in to participate in this challenge, welcome. Welcome to day 2 of doing little things from your heart consistently every day for 30 days, and you get to be the judge of the transformation that you experience. You and you only. Because look, in the end of the day, it's just you and you alone, right? So it's you in alignment with your inner spirit. So in yesterday's live, I was talking about competence at the end of the live. And so I thought I would do this video about competence or confidence. And really, I want to talk about that. And the other thing I want to talk about is those of you who either work from home or have limited access to the corporate environment. Hi, Eric. Good to see you. And you still want to participate, because being intentional from your heart and being in service to others is always going to be heartfelt and without any requirements, meaning it's just about you being present in the moment. Right, Eric? Hi, Oliver. Welcome. Thanks for being here. So, those are the 2 topics I wanted to talk about today. And I'm asking for you and anybody who watches this on the replay to comment below or in the video after what one thing that you did from your heart to be in service to others. It could be the littlest things. It could be big things. It can be donations. It could be just a beautiful smile. It could be simple things that when you're doing them from your heart in service to others, it changes you, it changes them, and that unites us in unity consciousness, which is where we all are collectively in alignment with the principles of oneness. So one of the primary principles of oneness is kindness. And kindness, we like to have other people be kind to us, but kindness begins always within. Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. So let's talk about competence over confidence. So competence is, let's just say you're an expert in your proficient field. For example, I'm an expert in leadership. What makes me an expert? My experience and results, period. Now, I am very competent in that. What makes me confident in my work is that it doesn't matter where I'm at, I'm going to get results, regardless. That's confidence. That's not arrogance. That's because I have the experience and the knowingness to back me up. Now, I have worked with some of the most miserable people on this planet, and I still get results. So you don't even have to be happy and get results, okay? You just have to know the difference between competent and confident. So if you take somebody who let's just say, I want to take a field of reference where people always give excuses of their results. Like, I can only get results with certain types of people, for example. So let's just say you're a personal trainer or you're a doctor, and you can only get results based on what somebody else does. Look, if you are influential enough, then you could guide people to make changes. And that's what makes you confident, meaning you will be able to adapt and change and be flexible regardless of however the other person performs. So let's just say you have a beginner and you're a personal trainer, and you're saying your results are dependent on their commitment. Wrong answer. No. So that's the difference between competency and confidence, meaning somebody who is competent will say, well, I could do this, but it depends on these factors. How much food are they taking? How much fat are they taking? Whatever philosophy, okay? It doesn't even matter. They're going to give these limitations of their results based on their experience and also their confidence. Because somebody who's confident, and this is somebody who I am somebody who did my master's on motivation to really, that was my thesis, if you will. And I was really interested in what keeps people motivated to commit to themselves. That's what I was really, that's what I wanted to learn about. And believe it or not, it's not what you think it is. So what I would say is this. Competency means that you have an education, a knowing of your particular field that is limited, right? Your perspective is pretty limited. That's a competency. Confidence is you're going to get results regardless of where you're at, right? So I don't think I'm overly confident. I absolutely know that I can get results regardless of what is presented in front of me. Now, that doesn't mean that the speed of results are going to be the same in comparison to other times. No, that is not what we're talking about. We're talking about confidence in gaining results. So, competency and confidence, they're not one and the same. And I'm going to give you an example. I worked with a leader of a department who was competent as a manager, but ineffective as a leader. So however you want to distill that. So he lacked confidence, but he had competence in his limited skill set. So how effective was he in his job? Not very effective. How effective was he with his counterparts? Not very effective. So competency does not equal like longevity. It doesn't equal vitality. It doesn't equal range. So I want to get that 2 cents in there about competency and confidence, because I think people think if you're competent, then you are confident. And it's absolutely different. Confidence is going to come from knowing, a knowingness, a resolve, an inner drive, an inner awareness that you would have. That's where confidence comes from when it's true. If it's arrogance, it doesn't have that inner stillness. So the whole point in doing this whole challenge every single day, coming on here and committing to your service to others, is to grow in confidence. Okay, so I'm just going to check in real. Hello, Freddie. Let's see. Hello. Good to see you. Aspen, hello. It's free time zone. Thank you so much for being here. It's good to see you here. Only thing which I most like in your talks, in alignment to yourself with truth and the heart, right? Well, that's really all that matters. If we're talking about creating our reality, the alignment with truth within and your heart is all that really matters, because the rest will just kind of fall away. But I wanted to do this challenge because I don't want people to feel so alone. And I want people to understand that their ability to co-create and create change in their world is 100% dependent on how willing and open they are in their hearts to give to others. And I don't mean give your time. I don't mean give your money. I mean give selflessly. Selflessly. That means there's no attachment to any outcome. There's no attachment to response. Meaning, if you sent your brother a message asking how they're doing and they don't respond to you, there's no attachment. What matters is that you did what you wanted, that you needed to do in alignment with your heart. in alignment with being in service to others. That's what matters. So, hi, Mick. Good to see you. Oh, thank you so much. I think I'm going to keep my hair long for now. Thanks. I'm getting compliments. I cut it because I get bored, but then I let it grow because I don't know. Anyways, thank you so much, Mick. I appreciate you being here. What one thing did you do between yesterday and today to be in service? That's what I want you all to comment below, or if you're watching this on the replay, what one thing that you did to be in service to others. Thanks, Mick. You're so kind. I appreciate you. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your comments. I just love you all, even though I haven't met so many of you. Okay, so being in service. The interesting thing is I came on yesterday with my intention, which is always very simple, which is to help others align to their truth and their heart, right? To be in alignment with one, to speak my truth. And, if my words help other people, so be it. And then what the person at the end of the video said that they got help was something they had been struggling with, that I spoke to, and that made my day, because that's what I'm talking about. It's like you, just by showing up and being your most authentic self, you can help others align, and it's so amazing. Oh, Oliver said you helped somebody carry their things. Oh, chivalry is not dead, y'all. All right, Oliver. Thank you so much for sharing that. I also sent out an email yesterday, and surprisingly, when I send out my emails, I'm not trying to sell things. I'm just letting people know what I'm doing and what's going on with me. And what I sent out, a client of mine from probably, over 8 or 9 years ago, responded with a very generous sharing of his own, and also how I had helped him, which I had people in my classes, I had one-on-one sessions, I did teamwork. So you never really know the impact that you have on people. And here, all these years later, he was sharing in his message to my saying, hey, I'm doing this community service thing. Won't you join me in kindness? He reciprocated and sent some very kind things back to me. So again, I want to echo that being kind just sometimes means being your most authentic self, and being present to what might be needed. And one thing that this person said in the message, and my response back to them was this: they didn't know they had trauma that they were contending with, and what I will say is that most of humanity doesn't realize that they have traumas that they're contending with. For those of you who are aware and you know that, oh, I had this trauma, this experience in my past, if you just took some time to be present in your heart to the thought or the memory or the experience, and just brought yourself to pure stillness in your heart, and you brought that stillness through every layer of your beingness, you can actually transmute your trauma. Like, that means that you don't have to carry it with you forever. It doesn't have to be this badge of honor forever that you use as an identifier. No, you could transform yourself by using your presence. And that's really what I'm hoping. I don't know what y'all are going to get out of this. I know there's going to be some transformations for sure. I know mine have already begun, and we just started this yesterday. So I am always just amazed at when we open ourselves to be in service with the intention of genuinely bringing some peace into the world through our own peace, that life starts to change. Thanks, Mick. Thanks, Mick. You're so sweet. And it is amazing. It's amazing that we can have impacts on people and not even realize it just by being present. So how are you bringing your presence into your world? Whether you, and I want to go into this next, whether you work from home or you go into a corporate office, your presence is what transmutes things. So I have some clients, former clients, I'm going to say former, who work in a very toxic environment. Because I used to be called in to the most toxic places to do transformational work. And I loved it. The more dysfunction, the better for me, because I loved bringing things that were so chaotic and crazy into alignment with peace. And that can be done when somebody believes it's possible. For those of you who are working in a toxic environment, I want you to know that it's not your job to bring peace to the environment. I really want you to know, as a consultant, I get hired for specific things. And unless your job says that you're supposed to bring peace to others, that's not your job. So you want to be really focused on being in your heart. And I know most people struggle with this one thing. They think they're in their heart instead of being present to their heart. So really, for yourself, if you get nothing out of this video, I want you to distinguish for yourself the nuances between your knowing you're in your heart and your thinking you're in your heart. Those are very different ways of being. Most people who think they're in their heart are not in their heart. They're in total disconnection, which means they're not connected to their inner spirit, right? So they disconnect from their spirit, oftentimes to just get through, right? They don't know they're doing this. Most people don't know they're disconnected from their inner spirit. They just have always operated that way. So today, notice if this is the assignment today for everybody who's open to it, is to identify, how do you know you're in your heart, and how does your thinking you're in your heart get in the way of you being in your heart? Like, answer those questions for yourself. That will be huge for your moving forward today and this week and this month. Because every day, whatever you're doing, you want to be in pure connection. Any questions? Mick, how are you in service? So let me see what else. Today, I was in service to my dog. You think, I think animals are a great humbler because they require you to really be attentive to their needs. And so I was in service to my dog in making sure that she had enough treats. So this morning I got up early for my calls, I did my thing, and then I started getting ready to because I make homemade treats for our dog. And that's how I was in service today. But I have a plan and a strategy for the park today. I'm going to go to the park this afternoon and do some positive notes for people as a part of my being in service. And I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun. I was going to see. Well, you guys already know what colored chalk looks like, but I bought a big thing of colored chalk. So I'm going to do that. And I will take pictures and post them. So if you're not following me on Instagram, you can follow me there, and I will post them in my story on Instagram. Zestful, good to see you. What one thing have you done to be in service? Put it in the comments. And the reason why I want you to put it in the comments is because when you make a public declaration of service, it changes your frequency to expand the potential. So it's not that I want to know, although I'm interested. It's because we want to expand the potentials of being in service to unify, to go into unity consciousness. Oliver is asking, what's one of the words or phrases I'm going to write? Well, I'm going to write several. But one of the things that I know I want to write is that you are loved. And I think that there's so much pain in the world, and there's so many doubts that people have, that they forget that they're loved, even though they didn't get the results that they thought they would, or they're so critical of themselves. People are so, what I would say is hypercritical, which is one of the reasons why I created the peace program, which I don't offer anymore, but I created this peace program because people were so hypercritical and in these do loops of thoughts, and I wanted to help people be less critical. What makes us less critical is when we're in service to others, when we're helping others from our heart space. We aren't going to be in judgment when we're in our heart space. But most people find they are judging themselves and judging others, and they have like a very negative do loop that goes on in their mind, and that is because they're disconnected from their heart. So the whole reason why we're doing this 30 days of being in service and kindness to others and doing selfless acts is to shift the paradigm in your own mind about how life is. Because life is what you create. I take people to the doctor, go to the store for people. All right, Eric, that's beautiful. And then you did that from your heart, right? Being present in your heart. And so what I would say, Eric, that is such a wonderful thing to do for others. Next time you do it, put your hand on your heart and wish them well on their path. See how that changes your experience. Because going to the doctors is not an easy thing to do. Hold on, I'm going to be right back. Okay, Eric says, yes, Kiana. All right. So the other thing I want to talk about is the difference between confidence and competence. I want to go back to that real quick, because when people are competent, they like that, right? It really feels safe, and they don't like to go out of that space of competence. And that limits them in their ability to experience confidence, because when you're confident, you're more willing and open to seeing things. So that means that you're going to learn, you're going to change, you're going to grow. When people are competent, that means they often like to protect themselves. And they operate from a space of fear, whether it's fear of going to the doctor, whether it's fear of becoming sick or ill, or they operate from these closed paradigms of thinking, closed systems. And these would also be old beliefs that maybe got passed down from generation to generation that went unchallenged. And oftentimes people just get kind of stuck in a rut. So if you want to be confident, you can't be stuck in a rut. No, you have to learn, you have to grow, you have to evolve. Oh, my light just went out. Anyways, hopefully you can still see me. It's not dark. Okay, Mick is saying, I've been getting involved with what people would call good causes, but when I saw your title on the subject, it made me be mindful of what I'm doing, so that excited me. As for today, I haven't been on. Okay, I love that, Mick, because the excitement is your connection to your inner spirit. right? That's what you're doing. And that means that when you are connected to your inner spirit and operating from your heart, the potential for change is exponential. Hi, Chris. Chris, we're talking about, oh, Shane, I got my flower. Love it. Today we're talking about competency and confidence, and also being in service and doing one thing today from your heart in service to another without expectation of outcome, results, something to do selfless for others. That's the topic, Chris. And I was talking about competency and confidence because those are often confused, right? So the other thing, Chris, that I talked about earlier, and I'm just going to repeat this because everybody should know when they are thinking they're in their heart and when they are actually in their heart, because what you think and what you know often are very different. Too often they are very different. So you want to know what are the distinctions between thinking you're in your heart and knowing. You want to get down into the nitty-gritty of that, because when you know, you know. And when you're connected to your knowing, you are connected to your power. And when you're connected to your power, there is your inner spirit right there, right? That is it. Oh, absolutely, Chris. Chris is asking if I believe in God. I absolutely believe in God. Shane, how are you doing, my friend? Good to see you here. Zestful, thank you for being here. I always try to help my junior associates whenever they ask for help. Okay, I love that, Zestful. Of course you do. You're very kind and generous. Now, can you do that from your heart? And how could you help somebody who's not an associate, who doesn't need help, but that you sense may need something? I want you to sense. I want you to really open your potentials from your heart and give to people that you wouldn't normally give to, like a colleague, maybe a counterpart, somebody who's an equal or even above you. What I will tell you is your downlinks appreciate your help for sure. When it's given from the heart, it will change them forever. When you do the same for your superiors, it changes how they operate. Now, there are a ton of psychopaths out there, so I wouldn't recommend doing this with one of those, but you use your good judgment. Zestful, that's awesome. So when we are limiting ourselves to our employees and associates, we kind of fall into those hierarchies. And Zestful, I think that you are absolutely capable of moving beyond whatever title you have, because when you are in your heart and sensing from your heart and operating from your heart, there's no titles. There's nobody that's higher than you, because your heart clears the path. Chris is asking me, do I believe that Jesus is my personal savior? I don't think anybody's coming to save us. No, I think our life and our light is in our connection to Christ consciousness, to higher levels of consciousness, and it's our alignment to that we become the portal for saving ourselves. That's my personal opinion. And I don't believe in the Bible. I'm not a religious person by nature. I do believe in God, but I don't believe in dogmas. I don't know if that helps. I know that could really rub some people the wrong way, but I think many people who are following particular dogmas are going to have just a challenge ahead of them. Because it's hard to rectify what's happening from a religious standpoint to a spiritual perspective, which is very different. Like religion and spirit, they're not one and the same. Mick is answering Chris. I believe how you go about this question turns people away from Chris. Christ. Okay, see. Yeah, I think people have ideas, and people have ideas about religion from our experience, right? Obviously, I have my own experiences. You have your own experiences. But I would say that my direct relationship with God, with my direct relationship with my heart, that is what I believe that everybody should follow. Does everybody follow that? Not always. A lot of people are looking outside themselves for answers, and I think, the truth is always going to be found the deeper you delve in. Chris is asking, who is your God then? I'm not trying to troll you or derail a topic. I'm just wondering. We can shelf it. This is a question I get asked often. Who is my God? Who is your God? What makes you think they're separate? I think that our ideas about God need to be challenged. Personally, I think who is my God? I mean, my God. I don't even know how you would describe him. Describe God as anything other than the ultimate frequency of truth and love and light and abundance and all of what is about unity and unifying. That's what I believe God is. Now, obviously, I've had some personal relationship issues with God where I was totally connected. And I remember when I was younger, I was always very connected and had a personal relationship with God. Religion always kind of interfered with my relationship with God, in my personal opinion. And I didn't like that interference. I didn't like people who used language of God, like Christ or Jesus. I didn't like the tone in their frequency. It really rubbed me the wrong way, which as I've gotten older, come to understand that was incongruent energy within them, where they say one thing and they do another. So there's that. And then I decided at one point, I didn't want to do it that way anymore. And I went to a Catholic school, and then I met some Christians, and I thought, let me learn about this Christian thing. I really didn't understand why they said what they said or what they believed. And I went to this Bible study, and I learned even more how incongruent these people were. And they were nice people. I think that they had well-intentioned people. I think that they were misdirected because they were disconnected within. Now, I'm not passing judgment on them. Just what they were doing was not for me. I didn't like the feeling I got when I heard them talk. I didn't like the judgments that they were passing on others and themselves. It just didn't feel right to me. So, yeah, I don't know if that helps your question. Connecting to your inner spirit is primary, I think. If you're trying to develop a deep relationship with God, well, then you must have a connection with your inner spirit, right? And how are you connecting with your inner spirit every day? Well, that's why I wanted to do this whole challenge, because whether you know it or not, when you are in alignment with kindness, when you're in alignment to service, you are connected to your inner spirit. And when you do that consciously and intentionally, you can transform your life and those around you. That's why I wanted to do this 30-day challenge. And I also wanted people to not feel so alone, because we're not alone. Okay, Mick is saying, so you now, the fruits of the spirits are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, fruitfulness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, love. Yeah. By that, I mean, if you are interacting in the spiritual world and you don't have a good grasp on who God is, you open yourself up to spiritual attacks. Oh, I hear you, Chris. If you are embodiment of Christ consciousness, you're going to get attacked whether you like it or not. Let's just be honest. The whole reason why I doing what I'm doing is because I got attacked. But people, I know better now how to address those attacks. But there's a lot of people that are saying they're of God and they have hateful thoughts. They are gambling. They are negative. They are saying they're kind and gossiping behind people's back. They saying they're speaking the word of God and they are unkind and resentful, and people just do things like that. That's called incongruence in my mind. And people who say that they are one with Christ and Christ-like, and then have hateful thoughts, like, what is that? That's nothing more than a misdirection of their own personal energy. So yes, I agree with you, but you can be attacked and be kind, and the more kind and loving you are, the more the attacks that they make don't matter. It's when you're not in alignment that the attacks matter, right? And you could be taken down and taken out. And trust me, I was taken down and out for a while. But here I am. I'm back. Better than ever. Okay, let's see. I appreciate Chris, I appreciate you being here and commenting. You're 100% right. And Chris, I would also ask you to share with us, if you wouldn't mind, what one kind thing you have done today to be in service to another. I think there's something woven here in your comment, but I'd like you to crystallize it if you would, because I want your kindness to be magnified and I want your potentials to be, I want them to grow. And the more clear and concise we are in being in our heart and sharing with others, the more we will grow. Mick says, it's relationship, not religion. People run into trouble separating too. Yeah. I've tested Kiana's spirit and she is real. One born, I believe, to do what she does. Thank you, Mick. You've tested me. I get tested all the time. My husband tests me still. You're not really testing me, you're testing you, because, Mick, we have been betrayed. We have been betrayed. We have been wronged. We have been hurt. We have been wounded, and our tests are just an armor, right? It's just our armor, but we're here to soften our hearts. We're here to open ourselves to greater potentials, and we don't need to test others because that's our own protection. The more we go into kindness, the more we go into service from our heart space, the stronger we will build that congruence, and we will not be vulnerable to betrayals, if you will, because it's our desires and our wants of people to be a particular way that lead us astray. We don't listen to our own inner wisdom, unfortunately. So you don't have to test me. It's you not trusting yourself. But in 30 days, Mick, of doing this every single day, I think that's going to change. I think we won't know until 30 days, but we will see, Mick, if you feel like you need to test people still after you give from your heart. That doesn't mean we're giving because we need to be needed. No. That's a wounded aspect. This is giving because we are giving selflessly. Okay. Chris is saying not spiritual attacks by people, but spirits or demons. Yes, I understood what you're saying, Chris. Yes. Yeah, that can happen in the astral realm, right? It happens all the time in the astral realm. In dreams, people get spirits or demonics. But that's also when we have vulnerabilities, and those vulnerabilities are for us to shore up. I agree with you, Chris. Chris is saying we should not focus on religion, but our personal connection with God, right? The armor of God protects you from spiritual attack. The armor of God is everything, right? That's everything, but that comes from your heart. You have to be in connection to your heart in order to have that armor. Raymond, hello, good to see you. Today I was kind to a parking attendant enforcement officer. That takes a lot. Yay! Yes, we got to be kind to those people that do those jobs that we don't want anything to do with, right? Chris, thank you so much for being here. You're absolutely right. Chris is saying the best thing we can do for others is to show grace. 100% agree. And we show grace through our personal presence and connection. Mick says, you can just see the light in you. Probably testing is not the right word. It's okay. It's okay, Mick. Look, people have coping mechanisms, as we talked a lot last year. Last year when I did the Bean and Sing 366 video series, there was a lot of discussion about coping mechanisms that people have, and testing would be one of them, right? Testing others. I remember when I first met my husband, he would always test me, and I thought, and this is what I still think, if you are true to your heart, it doesn't matter what whatever test somebody has. You're either going to resonate with them or not. So no need to test. It's best to know resonance rather than to test. That's what I would say. I appreciate both of you, Chris and Mick, for being here, and Raymond for sharing. You know, to be kind to others is to show greater compassion for the self, right? When you are kind to a parking attendant from your heart, it can change your entire day. Oh, I have a funny story. I'll end on this funny, crazy story. So back in the day when I was having a lot of attacks, as Chris was talking about, I used to always get stopped at TSA. And I traveled probably 80 to 90% of my schedule was travel. And I would get stopped at TSA. And of course, my husband would keep on walking because he didn't get stopped, but I did. Anyways, long story short, this TSA lady asked me to step aside because I was getting, again, checked. And so I stepped aside, and she's like telling me what to do. And I don't like to be told what to do. I don't care who you are. If you're telling me to sit down and I want to stand, I'm going to stand. If you want me to stand and I want to sit down, then I'm going to sit down. Like, that's how I was back in the day. It was a push-pull for sure. I was in total resistance to their authority because nobody has authority over me. Okay? I claim my own personal authority and I give it to nobody. Okay? So we were waiting, and this lady just was hateful towards me. And then I was matching her energy, and not being very kind back. And then I decided to, after in my huff, and we're like 15 minutes. She's just making me wait. And now I'm like laughing because this is so crazy. And I just called in a prayer, and literally by the end of our exchange, we both apologized for our irrational behavior, and we had a good laugh, and we had exchanged kindness to one another and respect, because we were both in it. We were in an ego tantrum, both of us were, and it took one of us, just one, to come into the heart and to shift the whole experience. And that's one of the funny stories I have about, sometimes we can, when you're learning about your own ego, sometimes you will get in those little tantrums, but the moment you can go into your heart and be in grace, as Chris is saying, and have resolve and have your pure connection to your spirit and God active, it changes every situation. And you don't have to give up your personal power. And I would say never do that. Always trust your heart and never give up your consent unconsciously. Okay, so we're just about at 45 minutes. Let's see what you have to say here, Chris. If you believe in God, then you must know that there is one true God. Well, how do you know it's a him? There are many false gods, but God isn't a frequency. That's how I see it. Christ consciousness is a frequency. Okay, Mick is saying I've had a lot of attacks about that, and we're coming to an end. Good, good. But I am better equipped, and thank God for Christ. Okay, yes, it lives within us. He's saying the kingdom lives within us. You must know that as you are operating in unity and kindness, that you strengthen, not weaken. And we're conditioned out of that. Raymond says, so much nicer to walk away peaceful rather than having an ego tantrum. Right? Yeah. And, you know, a parking attendant can call that forward too, you know. People have them all the time. Even people, this is going back like 20 years ago, but I would say people are more out of balance now. Maybe I just recognize it more, but I think it really is true. I think people are more out of balance emotionally, mentally, physically than they were 20 years ago. So whatever interaction I had, 20 years ago, have shifted immensely since then. I think people are walking on the wild side and doing some erratic behaviors because they do not have that inner connection. So I appreciate you all being here. Good to see you. Who is that? Matthew? Madhav. Hello. I just want to say thank you for being here. Please, if you are watching the replay, please leave in the comments one thing you did from your heart to be in service to others. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Have a great day. Namaste, everybody. Bye.